Hi, welcome to the Kendo Show. My name's Andy and I'm here again with Max.
Hello.
We're here again today to talk to you about how to deal with different heights of opponent.
Yes.
Yeah? You've probably been in your dojo. There's people that are tall, people that are short. As you can see between us, Max is somewhat taller than me, and I'm somewhat shorter. We're in this beautiful dojo today. We're here again at Shubukan. So we're really happy to be bringing it you from this wonderful location. And we're going to have a little bit of a different format today. I'm going to be talking about how I would approach my sort of keiko and my matches against somebody like Max, and then he's going to talk a little bit about how he would approach a match against me.
Yep.
So you'll hear both sides from the taller perspective and from the shorter perspective.
Go through our thought processes and what you're thinking about when you're practicing with someone shorter and taller than you. Absolutely. In Japan, I'm usually the tallest guy in the room, but when I went back to when I go back to Europe, there's some guys who are 2 meters and they're giants, so I have to take. I have to know both approaches, even though I'm tall.
Absolutely. Well, that's a very good point. You know, I often have the same thing. Here in Japan, I'm often one of the taller people, but when I go back over to Europe, I'm one of the shortest. So I'm not a tall guy. So you know, this is something that I think is very important to know both sides of the spectrum. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's get straight into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's look at how to deal with somebody taller than you. So if I was to face off with Max here, well, the first thing I would notice is as soon as I get into my cutting distance, I'm now feeling quite threatened by his men attack. I'm pretty sure that that's what he's going to want to attack because for him, that looks like the easiest option, right? So for him, especially if I get a little bit closer, him coming for my kote is a little bit more awkward because he's got a kind of long route to come over my shinai, and I might have a chance to hit something else. Instead, I'm pretty sure he's going to be looking for that men attack. At least I feel like that's what he's going to be most comfortable with. And for me, as opposed to from his position, his men feels much further than it would if he was shorter. So me making a Tobi-komi men attack or a men attack from myself feels much harder. His men feels very far away. So obviously, I'm going to be thinking about maybe trying to find a way to his kote or to his do. Obviously, there's tsuki. But I also don't want to rule out hitting his men because I also know in the back of my mind, he might be feeling safe about his men because I'm small. He might think, oh, well, there's less chance of him hitting my men. And if he's very good, which he is, he may also know that I'm going to be coming after his kote, so he's probably going to be on the lookout for that too. So the thing I'm going to be really trying to do is I know that he can attack me from further away than I can attack him because he's got longer legs than I do, so he's got a longer stride. So I'm going to make sure that I want to get into my distance. But if I make a big step into it like this, very obviously, he's not going to be comfortable with that. So he might break it or he'll do something about it. So instead, I want to make sure that I make my distance with him subtly. Okay, so I'm making small steps until I'm in my distance. And now I'm here where I can reach him and he can reach me. But if we were starting out here, probably he can reach me here, but I'm going to struggle to reach him. So I'm going to make my distance very subtly, first off. And then secondly, the next thing I want to do, from my personal approach, is I know he's probably feeling a little bit more confident to come for my men than he is for my kote. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. So I'm going to perhaps encourage him to attack my men and make it look like it's easier for him to hit than it is. So then at that very moment when he comes, I have a chance to attack. Perhaps I can make that kote there once I've got him to commit to that men attack. Another option, I could do an ojiwaza like kaishido at that point where I think he's going to come. I've got that chance to hit kaishido. Or if I'm feeling particularly confident or brave, this is a good chance for me also to take that men. Is that point when I get him to cut, and this is where I get the men attack, okay? But I have to make sure that I've convinced him to attack my men first so that I have the chance to do Debana men. But even with this much greater height difference, as you can see, he's much taller than me, I can still easily hit his men in reality. It just feels so far away because he's so big, okay? So that's my first method. I'm going to try and make him attack me, okay? So that when he comes to attack, I have a way to strike him. Secondly, I also know that I can take away his height advantage somewhat by closing the distance completely and getting into tsubazeriai. So I can look for that as an option by perhaps even when we get into a position where maybe he's going to attack my man, I'm going to block, and we're going to be here in tsubazeriai. And now I'm at much more of an advantage than I was before. Okay? Hikiwaza is possibly more advantageous for me as well, because I have more, not really options, but I have a little bit more variation in the way that I can move in a short space, which is harder for somebody that has longer limbs. So I may get into tsubazeriai here. It's easy for me to hit his men even just from here. I can also hit his kote reasonably easily, and I've also got a path to his door as well. Okay? So my points are going to be about trying to get him to attack me, perhaps with that main attack that he's been looking for, so that I can use ojiwaza or debanawaza, or I can close the distance down, get into tsubazeriai, and score hikiwaza.
Okay, so let's look at it from the perspective of a taller person practicing with an opponent who's shorter than them. Right, so the first thing that I've got in mind, as well as Andy's just said earlier, is the fact that I can hit from here with one step, and I think he can too, but he's got less of an advantage. I feel much more comfortable taking one step, bang, I can easily reach, whereas he can't. So that's the main advantage that I want to keep control of. You've heard what he's just said. He's going to try and subtly steal the distance away from me. It's a very subtle game, and it's very hard to explain, but basically, if I let him come into this kind of distance, he's already got the advantage, and I've lost my advantage of being tall, which I don't want to do. So how can I stop that? Obviously, I can attack when he comes in. If he does, I can attack straight away. But you can't do that every time because you'll set up an obvious pattern. So the more subtle ways, footwork, if he steps in, I could step back. But you're making small adjustments. It's never a big thing. But the way that works best for me might be sideways. So if he steps in, I can move diagonally forwards, keep control of the center with my shinai control, and this gives me a great opportunity to attack men. If he does the same thing, but he thinks I'm coming for men, there would be a chance for kote. Okay, there's two patterns. Also, if he's ready for that one, if he knows that one, I could do the same thing, but with kote men. If he tried to block the initial kote. Okay, another thing that I want to keep in mind is what kind of footwork I'm using. Okay, if I'm here, because I'm tall and I've got longer limbs, I need to jump and push forwards, bang, a lot, right, to make the distance. But A smaller opponent is more comfortable around here. Now this is where I feel uncomfortable. I have to be able to use smaller, sharp footwork. If I take the big step I just took, I'm going to end up hitting here, and it's not going to be ippon, no monouchi, okay? So, if he steps in, I need to be able to adjust my footwork and do short and sharp footwork. Bang, bang, or for kote. This is difficult because it's not what I'm used to, but if I can manage this distance and keep my sharp footwork even when he comes in, it takes away his advantage and it puts me in a good position.
Okay, so that was all about how to deal with a taller or a shorter opponent. I hope you found it useful and informative.
Okay, try out in your own dojo. Hopefully it works for you. Keep it in mind if you ever see some really, really tall people or short people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you did enjoy it, make sure you give us a like, and you can share us around social media and drop us a subscribe over on YouTube as well. I'd like to also bring up our sponsors. That's KendoBorgoJapan.com and KendoStar.com. They're sites that I personally run, and the proceeds from those go directly towards funding this channel. That means every single order that you place on there goes towards bringing new episodes of The Kendo Show to you, and hopefully more frequently.
Nice, and also there's a group on Facebook, free to join. If you go on there, you can get early access to these videos a few days before they're released on YouTube. Yep. And you can also chat with a big community of Kendo people. So send us some messages, let us know what you think.
Absolutely, there's a link down in the description. All you've got to do is click on it and send a request to join, and we'll approve it as soon as we can. Hope you enjoyed that episode, and we'll bring a new one to you as soon as we can. See you next time.
Thanks for watching.